The world watched in horror as Europe, still recovering from the devastation of the First World War, found itself once more on the brink of chaos. It was 1939, and the seeds of conflict, sown in the aftermath of the previous war, had taken root, threatening to consume the entire world in their dark embrace. On September 1, 1939, Nazi Germany, under the iron-fisted rule of Adolf Hitler, unleashed its military might upon neighboring Poland, marking the beginning of World War II, a global conflict that would rage for 6 long and bloody years. This was not a war confined to the battlefields of Europe. It was a conflict of unprecedented scale and ferocity, drawing in nations from every corner of the globe. From the bustling cities of Europe to the remote islands of the Pacific, the clash of ideologies and the relentless pursuit of power left an indelible mark on human history. Over 50 countries and millions of soldiers were involved, and the world held its breath as the fate of humanity hung precariously in the balance. The world watched as the horrors of war unfolded, forever changing the course of history. The Second World War was a conflict marked by unparalleled brutality, technological advancements that revolutionized warfare, and a level of human suffering that defied comprehension. It was a war that tested the very limits of human endurance and resilience, leaving behind a legacy of both profound loss and enduring hope. At the heart of this global conflict lay the Nazi regime, driven by a dangerous ideology of racial superiority and territorial expansion. Adolf Hitler, the charismatic yet ruthless dictator of Germany, had risen to power by exploiting the economic hardships and political divisions that plagued his nation in the aftermath of World War I. Hitler's venomous rhetoric, promising to restore Germany to its former glory, resonated with a population desperate for stability and national pride. Fueled by a toxic blend of nationalism and anti-Semitism, the Nazi Party quickly gained traction in Germany, preying on the fears and insecurities of a nation grappling with the humiliation of defeat and economic despair. Hitler's vision for Germany extended far beyond its existing borders. He sought to create a vast empire, a greater German Reich that would stretch across Europe, subjugating entire populations and eradicating those deemed unworthy of existence. Central to the Nazi ideology was the twisted belief in the superiority of the Aryan race and the designation of Jews as an existential threat to Germany's purity and strength. This insidious doctrine of hate fueled a systematic campaign of persecution against Jews, stripping them of their rights, their possessions, and ultimately, their lives. The Holocaust, a genocide of unimaginable scale and barbarity, stands as a chilling testament to the depths of human cruelty that can be unleashed when hatred and intolerance are allowed to fester. As the Nazi war machine marched across Europe, crushing all opposition in its path, the world watched with a mixture of apprehension and disbelief. Nations that had sworn off war as an instrument of foreign policy following the devastation of World War I found themselves drawn into the conflict, compelled to confront the growing threat posed by the Axis powers. On one side stood the Axis powers led by Germany, Italy, and Japan, united by their shared ambitions of territorial expansion and their willingness to employ brute force to achieve their goals. On the other side stood the Allied powers, a coalition of nations that came together to oppose the aggression of the Axis. Led by Great Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, the Allies represented a diverse array of ideologies and national interests, yet they found common cause in their determination to defeat the forces of fascism and preserve a world order based on freedom and self-determination. The battle lines were drawn, and the fate of the world hung precariously in the balance as these two formidable forces collided in a clash of epic proportions. From the beaches of Normandy to the deserts of North Africa, from the frozen wastelands of the Eastern Front to the jungles of Southeast Asia, the war raged on, claiming the lives of millions of soldiers and civilians alike. The conflict touched every corner of the globe, leaving an indelible mark on the human psyche. It was a war that tested the limits of human endurance, pushing soldiers and civilians alike to the brink of their physical and emotional limits. The tide of the war began to turn in 1941 when two pivotal events occurred that would forever alter the course of the conflict. On December 7, 1941, the Japanese Empire, seeking to cripple the American Pacific Fleet and solidify its dominance in the region, launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The attack, which killed over 2,400 Americans and damaged or destroyed numerous U.S. warships and aircraft, shocked the American public and galvanized support for war against